Arizona weather, it's crazy, and today we are talking about haboobs. Huh? Stay tuned, I'll explain. Welcome back. I'm Michelle Miller with Michelle Miller Realty, and we are talking about all things Arizona, real estate, lifestyle, weather, all the things that happen here. Today our topic is haboobs, and you're like, what? Yeah, that's what I said when I first heard about them too. A haboob is basically a gigantic dust storm that sweeps along and looks like it's something that's straight out of the Bible. They're typically found in desert or arid regions, kind of like the Southwest. Also in the Middle East, they're real prominent. Sometimes you may have seen footage of stuff that's happening out there, and it's just like a very intense dust storm. It comes from thunder outflow. It's a term I never really heard of till I just started investigating stuff about this video. But what happens is a thunderstorm, it has a downdraft and it hits the ground, and then because our ground is so dry and dusty, it basically hits the ground and spreads out, and then it picks up all that dust, and then when the wind is really strong, the wind shear is low to the ground, and it just pushes it, starts pushing it. So this comes down, it picks it up, the wind starts taking it, and then what happens is it's pushing it forward, and then as it moves it along, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's ideal in dry conditions where the ground is dry, it's very dusty, lots of loose particles, and that's what gives it the momentum to kind of build. And topographical features would be like dry riverbeds, barren stretches of land. So if there's areas where there's not a lot of vegetation, because that can kind of break up the wind shear. It's kind of like a tornado. When a tornado hits dry area and it just picks up speed, same thing with a haboob. It hits the ground, and if there's nothing to really break up the force, it just keeps getting faster and faster and faster and builds and builds and builds until it gets across. So it's pretty phenomenal. Make sure you watch this video to the end, because I'm going to talk about some safety tips if you do find yourself in the middle of one of these haboobs. So back to what a haboob is and a little bit about them too. So depending on the size of these things or how big they'll get will depend on a couple factors. How strong that thunder outflow is and that downdraft. Also how fast the wind shear is, and just how dusty it is. So they all kind of play a part. It's kind of like fire, where it's like you need the spark, you need the oxygen, you need something to burn. Same kind of thing, a little trifecta of badness. And then, so a haboob can be miles in length. The leading edge of it can be thousands of feet in the air. I have seen these things develop. When you live at a higher elevation, you can see them come across in the lower elevations, moving in and moving across the city. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Now, a haboob can change over time depending on all this, and it gains momentum. It can get bigger and bigger and bigger. It might start off kind of small, and then it makes its way west. It just starts growing and growing with intensity. If it just runs across a lot of particles, the wind picks up, and it's just, before you know it, you're this big wall of dirt, and it leaves like this film on your outside stuff that's like really, really fine. You have to wash your stuff again and again and again, because the particles are just really, really fine. It's hard to pick it up with one wipe. All right, some safety tips if a haboob is coming and what you should do. So first of all, seek shelter. You always want to be inside. When this comes through, it is really hard to see. If you ever saw any of that footage from disasters when buildings fall down and how dusty it is, you want to stay inside. You want to close all your windows and doors so that all that dust and debris doesn't come into your home, and keep your house clean. Turn off your air conditioner. If it's in summer, which it does happen in summer, it can last a long time, but most of them kind of move in and out. It's going to depend on how fast the wind is moving, how long it's going to take to move in and out. It might be 30 minutes, it could be an hour, but it's better than having your air conditioner kind of suck in all that stuff in your house and make your house full of all that dust that's just not great to breathe in and out. Avoid driving. Now, if you are in your car and have seen this coming, and then I, of course, tried to outrun it, somewhat successful. I don't recommend that. But if you are in it and it's coming through and you can see in your visibility, what happens, you have no visibility at some point. It's really scary. Pull off to the side of the road and turn your lights off. Don't put your hazards on, turn your light off, and set your parking brake. Sometimes when people drive in the rain, they'll put their hazards on and they'll kind of keep driving, but you have some form of visibility at that point. If you leave your lights on and people can't see, they might think that you're on the road, and they'll just drive in behind you thinking that you're still moving and you're standing still. So off to the side, stay in your car, don't get out, because obviously nobody can see where they're going. Set your parking brake, lights off. Okay, if you are outside, you can't get into shelter, try and cover your nose and your mouth with something, with some kind of mask, a piece of fabric, whatever, just so you're not ingesting these fine particles. We have valley fever here, and so it comes from spores and stuff that are in the ground, and so you want to just try and keep all that, any kind of debris and stuff out from your respiratory system for obvious reasons. If you can, wherever you are, just wait it out instead of going outside in it and trying to get home. Just wait it out. Most of them aren't that long, an hour, 2 hours, maybe max. Normally they move in and out pretty fast. So just something to keep in mind if you are thinking about moving here. The lower part of the valley, because it's at a lower elevation, seems to be more prone to getting these haboobs that come through. So we're talking about like down in like Tempe, Chandler, Mesa, all that's lower. When you live like in North Phoenix, North Scottsdale, you're at a higher elevation. People don't really realize that when they come here and they drive from the airport and they go into North Scottsdale. You're actually going uphill the whole time, but it's very gradual, so you don't feel it. So you might be more like at about 2,000 feet when you're up in northern Scottsdale or Phoenix, and so you can look down and you can see these dust clouds that come through and won't get hit in the north part, but it seems to be less frequent. I've seen them come hit down south, and we never get anything up north. So just something to keep in mind. Again, it's just an inconvenience, really. I mean, it is dangerous when you lose visibility and you're driving, but the long and the short of it is it's not like super damaging like a tornado ripping through your neighborhood or a hurricane or something like that, or a massive flood. So anyways, if you have questions about our crazy weather here in Arizona, I'm always happy to answer questions, or just questions about real estate things in general. So my contact information is below. And again, if you like the content of these videos that I produce, please make sure to press the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. So I thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in the next video.